Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Ani with another video today. First, I want to say happy Ramadan to anyone who's celebrating. I'm right now fasting myself, but I'm a little bit sick right now. My voice is a little bit gone. Hopefully, I can record this video for you guys today. Tomorrow's the Europa League, and today we're going to be predicting the Europa League games today that are going to be happening tomorrow and the playoff games. But yeah, hopefully we get them right. If we don't, it's whatever. They're just predictions. But yeah, let's get right into it. So starting off, we're gonna go over on the left-hand side. We're gonna start off with Ludogorets versus Ferencvaros. I'm not really familiar with both of these teams pretty much, but I'm familiar with Ferencvaros, knowing Mohamed Basic, who played with them. He was a beast for Bosnia. He blocked on Messi in the World Cup, right there. That guy, he locked this guy over here. But they also had like Elarcevic. I'm pretty sure Elarcevic and Kovacic. We're not gonna talk about Elarcevic. Bosnians, no, we don't talk about Elarcevic. You know, to talk about him, but looking at these teams, I really don't know anyone. I mean, I do know Naby Keita. I don't know what he's doing here, but Naby Keita, little Liverpool fans know him. But yeah, I don't know what he's doing here. Looking at both these sides, I mean, Ludogorets looks solid compared to Ferencvaros, who have lost, two of their previous five matches, while Ludogorets are on a winning streak in 5 games. Could they go on and win another game? Who knows? But I mean, if you look at the Champions League standing right now, Ludogorets in the Champions League right now have 2 wins in the last 5 games. They have 2 wins. They have a draw against PAOK, and they did lose against the Rangers. You know, but if you can see that both of these sides have played against each other in the Champions League, where Fenerbahce, however you say it, Fenerbahce have won against them 3-1. If you look at Fenerbahce, they have obviously lost against Nottingham Forest. They tied 2 games. They tied against Fenerbahce. I like that one. They tied against Fenerbahce. They did beat the Rangers 2-1 compared to Ludogorets losing, to them 1-0. But yeah, they look like more of the solid side compared to Ludogorets. And if we're gonna look at the Champions League standings, comparing that and their current stance, I honestly believe that Ferencvaros could potentially clinch this game. And if I'm gonna be honest, I think they're gonna move on to the next round. All right, so next up we got a very interesting match. We got Fenerbahce and Nottingham Forest. I think this is gonna be the most interesting match out of all the playoff games. We got Fenerbahce, a strong Turkish side, and Nottingham Forest, not so of a strong of a Premier League side, but they've been struggling this year. Hopefully we might see a difference, going into this game. But if you look at their forms of both these teams recently, I mean, Fenerbahce looks solid, very solid. Tied against the Romanian side FCSB. Don't know much about them, but they tied against them. Then after that they go on winning all their games in the Turkish league. If you look at if you look at Nottingham Forest, they look decent. They won against Brentford. In the last 5 games they won against Brentford. They won against Ferencvaros, as we said earlier. They won against them 4-0. After that, they go on tying 2 games and losing against Leeds. Not so good of a form for Nottingham Forest, which is kind of, taking them down a little bit. But if you look at the Champions League form of both these teams, we can see Fenerbahce, they tied their last game. They lost against Aston Villa, and they ended up winning against Brann, tying 2 games after that. And then we have, Nottingham Forest, who lost against Braga. Then they go on winning 2 games and tying the game. And if you look at those two Champions League, comparing both the Champions League games, Nottingham Forest looks better to me. But honestly, knowing their form, how Nottingham Forest have been playing, I honestly think that, Fenerbahce will go on and take this game and move on to the next round. Alright, so up next we got Dinamo Zagreb against Genk. Dinamo Zagreb, my Croatian team over here, but I feel like they're up against a tough side, Genk. I mean, if you look at, their forms recently, we got Dinamo Zagreb, not bad of a form. I mean, they only lost against Midtjylland, however you say that name, in the Champions League. I'm pretty sure this is definitely not a Croatian team, but that's in the Champions League. They only lost 1 game, but they tied against Rijeka 0-0. Decent form. But Genk have been in a really good form. winning their last 4 games recently, and they tied against Silke Bruges. But if you look at the Champions League standings right now, we got Dinamo Zagreb over here losing 4 games out of 5 Champions League games, only winning one against FCSB. I think that's just insane. I mean, this has like been one the first out of all teams recently that we've been looking at. Not one team has lost 4 games like this, But then if you look at Genk right now, Genk have won 5 games and only lost one, and they also lost to Midtjylland as well, 1-0. They win against Braga, Basel, Malmo, and whatever that Dutch team is. I don't know that Dutch team, but they beat them. But looking at that, it's gonna be a tough game for Dinamo Zagreb. But I don't know. We could see some Dinamo Zagreb masterclass in the Europa League this year. What maybe? But looking at the games, both of these teams form, I think Genk are gonna take this game. But hopefully, Dinamo Zagreb go through. Maybe, but I think Genk are gonna take this game and move on to the next round. All right, so up next we got PAOK versus Celta Vigo, a Greek and Spanish side going at it right now in the Europa League. If you look at both of their forms, PAOK look solid. They look amazing. Good form going into the Europa League. But if you look at Celta Vigo, they look like they're struggling. 3 ties and 2 losses. Looks like they're struggling to get a win. But could they get a win? I mean, maybe. But honestly, looking at PAOK, they look like a stronger side. But look at the Champions League sides for PAOK. We have them, winning 2 games, tying 2, and recently losing against Lyon 4-2. But if we look at Celta Vigo, they recently tied against Cervena Zvezda. They won against Lille. They lost 2 games after that, and they beat Dinamo Zagreb 3-0. That's it's all right. But if you look at the recent games, I'm gonna go off of the recent games. I think PAOK look a better side for this, and that's why I'm gonna choose them. Moving on to the next round. All right, so moving on to the right side, we got Celtic and Stuttgart. Both of these teams look solid. I feel like this game is gonna be very interesting as well. One of those like very good games. Could go both ways, honestly. Just looking at their form, I mean, Celtic look in amazing form. Can't go wrong with this. Like 5 games, 5 wins out of 5 games recently. While Stuttgart as well, I feel like they're in good form, but they just lost against St. Pauli in the Bundesliga, just 2-1. I mean, not bad form from them as well. This game honestly could go both ways. I mean, can't forget my boy Edmundin Demirovic for Stuttgart. He's been in solid form. He came back from injury and has been performing very well for Stuttgart. Hopefully he continues that and can bring this on for Stuttgart in the next game. If he does, I think Stuttgart have a very good chance of going through. Hopefully he brings that form on for Bosnia in March when they play against Wales. Hopefully he stays fit. But if you look at both of these teams' Champions League games, Celtics games, looking, not bad. I mean, they've lost 2 games, won 2, and have a tie. But if we look at Stuttgart's games, they have 4 wins and only have 1 loss against Roma. Honestly, that's very good. In my opinion, it's very, very, very good form for Stuttgart, which, in my opinion, I want Stuttgart to go through, and I feel like they're going to go through looking at their form, even though Celtic have, 5 wins out of 5 games recently. I still believe that Stuttgart are going to be able to go on this round, and yeah, I'm taking Stuttgart for this one. All right, so up next we got Bran versus Bologna. I mean, let's give some respect for Bran for making it into the playoffs. They clinched it. They did it. They made it into the playoffs, but they're up against a tough side. Bologna. Bran aren't really as strong of a side, but hey, let's give us some respect for them reaching the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, anything can happen. I feel like maybe, who knows? Brown could go on. They can move on to the next round. They beat Bologna. They go on. Who knows? Maybe. Anything can happen. I'm saying anything can happen. But, I mean, if you look at both of these teams' form, I mean, it looks decent. It's all right. Not great. Bronze, it's all right. I mean, here and there. Bologna, they're in Italian league, so it's gonna be a little difficult over there. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the Champions League form, though, I mean, if you look at Bronze form right now, they haven't won a game. They tied three of their games. They lost two. It really isn't great. Looking at it, it's not really great. But if you look at Bologna's form, they do have a really, really good form, in my opinion. They have 3 wins and 2 draws. I honestly believe that's really good going into, the playoffs. That form in the Champions League, with those matches. I feel like definitely, without even looking at that, I'd still pick Bologna. But looking at the Champions League, how each team is doing, in their last 5 matches, Bologna are definitely going to go on to the next round. Hopefully, I mean, anything can happen, but I'm choosing Bologna moving on to the next round. All right, so last but not least, we got Lille versus Crvena Zvezda, the Serbian boys against the French side. Honestly, someone looks at this matchup right now and they're like, "Oh, Lille versus Crvena Zvezda. Oh, Lille are gonna win this game. Lille." But if you look at it, comparing the team's form recently, Crvena Zvezda look like a solid side. I mean, they haven't lost a game. They have 4 wins out of 5 games recently, compared to Lille, who only won 1 game, which was the game against Freiburg. I mean, for Lille's form isn't solid, but if you look at the Champions League form as well for Lille, it's not solid as well. I mean, they only have 2 wins against Dinamo and Freiburg and 3 losses out of 5 Champions League games. I don't think that's too good, nor it's so bad. But if you look at Crvena Zvezda right now, they look like they're in fantastic form in the Champions League, winning 4 out of 5 Champions League games and tying one, which was the recent tie against Celta Vigo. Honestly, believe from that, looking at Crvena Zvezda's form from the Champions League in the last 5 games, I think it's really good going into this Champions League playoffs for Crvena Zvezda, which I believe that these Serbian boys are going to be able to take on Lille and move on into the next round. All right, so guys, those are it. Those are my predictions for the Europa League playoffs. And once again, Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. Happy Ramadan to everyone who's celebrating. But yeah, make sure you comment down below and leave a like for this video. Comment your guys' predictions. What do you guys believe? Who's gonna move on? And yeah, any other video ideas? But yeah, make sure you guys subscribe as well. Don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, your boy Ani is out. Peace.